My name is Jeff. You're watching Chit Chat, and today we're going to go ahead and open up a game that I was very excited to receive. I backed this on Kickstarter. It's Orlog. It's the Assassin's Creed Valhalla dice game. I've never actually played Assassin's Creed Valhalla, but that doesn't mean that I'm not excited to play Orlog. This is a two-player dice game, and there's a lot of really cool components in here. So I'm excited to open up the box. This is not an unboxing because I've already opened it and sorted everything out. You're going to see that. So I'm not going to be looking at all of this for the first time, but it's going to be an overview. So I'm going to kind of talk about my first impressions of all the components here in the box, because a lot of times, well, every time when you back a Kickstarter, you don't know what you're going to get, right? You get pictures of what you're going to get, but you don't actually know. There's no user reviews for this game out there at the time you actually pay for it on Kickstarter, and there's no guarantee you're even going to get it in the end. There's a lot about Kickstarter and other crowdfunding websites that involves risk, especially with board games. But you know what? Let's go ahead and dive in and talk about this, because there's a lot to talk about with this game. There's a lot of people online who started receiving their Kickstarter. There's people who love it, and there's people who are kind of disappointed. Now, I want to be very clear that I backed the standard version of this on Kickstarter. I did not get the deluxe version. And the deluxe version is the one that a lot of people are getting kind of upset about. So I can't really speak to that one, but I'm going to go ahead and show what I received. I do have one extra add-on that I added as part of the Pledge Manager, and I'll show that as well. So let's go ahead and get to it. Here we have the cover of the box. Very simple box. You can very clearly see that it's Orlog. It's fine. I would have loved if the box was a little bit more immersive. It's a fictional game. Vikings did not actually play a game called Orlog centuries ago, but it would have been cool if this box was a little bit more immersive, something that felt like you were maybe grabbing from your shelf, like, a relic from centuries ago that maybe looked like it was like a wood carved box with the word Orlog carved into it or something. They didn't go that direction. It's fine. I get it. But not a bad box. It looks good. If we go ahead and open it up, there's an instruction guide. We're going to come back to this because I have some words about the rule book. So I'm going to put this aside for the moment. We also have a couple of cheat sheets. This is a two-player game, so each player should get one of these God Favor card cheat sheets. There's a lot of God Favor tokens in the game that you're going to choose from at the very beginning, and this gives you a good understanding of what each of them do. So these are very nice to have. I recommend playing with them, especially for your first several playthroughs. You're going to want to use those. Now, the Kickstarter came with a glossy print of a tournament bracket. I mean, this is a competitive-ish two-player game. Kind of cool to have it. If you use a dry erase marker, I'm pretty sure you can erase it off of this, so that's pretty cool. Also tied to that tournament bracket, you get this blue metal coin. I think the idea that this is kind of a trophy. Very heavy coin, looks great. I believe these are French instructions. We're going to put these aside. And then we also have in this beautiful white envelope a print, a really nice art print of like a painting of a couple people in a tavern. It looks like a couple Vikings a long time ago in a tavern playing Orlog. So this is a nice little piece. If it was bigger, I would consider hanging this in my game room. It's kind of small, but I'll try to find something to do with it because it's actually pretty nice. So we'll go ahead and put this aside as well. All right, now let's get into the meat and potatoes of Orlog. Let's open this up. Orlog is a dice game. It's a two-player dice game. There's not a whole lot of components to this game, so let's go ahead and get into it. I kind of sorted out my box, as you can see here, so that things are organized in a way that kind of makes sense for me when I want to pull it out and play it. Let's go ahead and go through all of this right off the bat. So the first thing, they give you 2 cloth bags, one for each player. Again, kind of immersive because there are these nice little cloth bags, except for there's a big Assassin's Creed logo on them. So it's fine. It makes sense. I wish it wasn't there, but it's there. When you can use these cloth bags to store basically the components for each player. So that means the 6 dice that you're going to use to play the game, and then the 15 health tokens, which are little polished rocks that they give you. So here's what the dice look like. These are the standard dice that came in the Kickstarter. They're bone colored. I'm going to talk about these a little bit more in a minute. There's 6 unique dice, and it is important to note that these 6 dice are all unique from one another. So if you were to accidentally take the 6 dice for one player and then the 6 dice from the other and combine them into one big pile of 12 dice, you're going to have to carefully split them back apart into 2 sets of 6 so that they are the way they need to be. Because again, each one of these 6 dice are actually different, and you don't want to get caught with them being kind of messed up if you combine all 12. So do not combine all 12 dice. That's what I'm telling you. Now, the polished rocks, I think these are just polished rocks. They're all unique. These are not molded or made in a factory. These are, I think, just rocks that were polished, and that they're all kind of this turquoise blue color. They're beautiful. I love them. Again, from an immersion perspective, it's really cool that some of these are actually pretty big and some of them are kind of small. It's great. I love it. It's awesome. Like this part of it, these stones that represent your health are a really cool call out to this idea that you're playing a game that Vikings played centuries ago. And again, they didn't. It's a fictional game for the video game, but it's really cool that, they included actual rocks and not, plastic rocks, right? These are really cool. Now the dice I want to come back to for a moment. I really like the dice. They're a little light, but they feel great. They roll fine. However, one thing that you may notice on them is that on every single one of these dice, 2 sides have a border on them that indicate that you can take a God Favor token if you choose this die throughout the round. And so they're stronger, and you want to try to take them if you can. The coloring of that border is only a few shades off of what the background color of the die is. And don't get me wrong, I know if I roll these dice, I can pretty quickly tell which ones have a border and which ones don't. But you know what? It's way too close of a color. I don't know why they didn't just use a black coloring for that border, much like they used for the symbols on the dice, because there's a nice heavy contrast there. But with the border coloring, with the border color being this, brown tan color, it's just not good enough. There needed to be more contrast there. It's fine. It'll work, and you're not going to really miss anything, I'm sure. But I would have really liked to see better contrast on the die for those border colors. Otherwise, dice are fine. I love the health markers. And then each player will get a bowl. Now this is a plastic bowl. It looks like it's wooden though. It's got these wood kind of etchings into it. And it looks really nice. The Kickstarter came with a felt bottom, which I don't know if that's normal for kind of the retail version of the game, but I love the felt bottom. If you roll dice into it, it's nice and quiet. You can play this game and not have to worry too much about being super loud. That's awesome. So I really like the bowl, and I like the felt bottom. Some people online are going to be upset because they thought these bowls were going to be wooden. There's kind of a Kickstarter miscommunication initially, but it was communicated over and over and over again that the bowls were going to be plastic. And so for anybody who was paying attention to the campaign, you would know that these were going to be plastic. I totally understand why people are upset though, and just bear in mind when you're online and you see people talking about this game, you may see people upset that these are not wooden, and there's a reason for that. So, but I was following the Kickstarter campaign. I never expected them to be wooden. Now, you also get a metal coin. It's a silver metal coin. This acts as a way to determine who's going to play first at the very beginning of the game, and then it's going to be used as a first player token thereafter. So it's a really nice little, it's a nice little component. I really like it. I always like metal coins in games, so I'm glad that that's there. It looks great. Now, there's a couple final components that I guess we'll look at really quick. They're cardboard components. The first are these God Favor tokens. They're little squares with little art on one side, a little bit of art on one side, and then nothing really on the other side. They're fine. They work well. You could have chosen to upgrade these to metal tokens in the Kickstarter campaign, and people love them. Apparently those tokens turned out really nice. I honestly have no problem skipping out on that. These work just fine. Those are nice. But then we get to the actual God Favor cards themselves. Each player has a set of these because depending on what rule set you use for the game, you may end up playing with different ones than your opponent. That's why you and your opponent are going to have your own set that you could actually use. These are nice. I'm not going to go into them in too much detail, but the main thing to understand is that they're double-sided. On one side, you have an art depiction of the god, and on the other side, you have an explanation of exactly how you, what you can do if you use this god's favor, and what you can accomplish depending on how many favor tokens you spend when you activate it. The only thing I would say about these is I wish the print was a little bit bigger on the back side of them. It's very small, and if you're playing with somebody who needs to use reading glasses, they're going to want to have the reading glasses handy for playing this game. Not a huge deal, but it's a small print. Some people with the deluxe version of this game did not get cardboard. They got wooden versions of these, and they're very upset with how they turned out. I cannot speak to that because I have not even seen pictures of them yet, so I'm going to stay out of that. But the cardboard version of these God Favor cards, they're fine. I don't have any issues with them. So the last couple things I want to cover with this. One is I did get one add-on for this game, and it's the Valhalla dice. I'll go ahead and open these up so that I can show the difference. Essentially, these are a set of 6 dice that are a different color than the original kind of bone-style coloring that you get with the game by default. I really like the Valhalla dice, and you don't have that contrast issue on these because they did use a border color that was nice and light that matches the symbol on the die, and it has a ton of contrast with the die color itself. These are really nice dice. I'm glad I got the Valhalla dice for this. So these are awesome. I plan to play with these normally whenever I play this game. So yeah, that was a nice add-on, and I'm glad I got them. The last thing I want to point out with this game, though, is I want to come back to the rule book. This is the rule book. That's it. That's the entire rule book. Normally, this is a really good thing. Normally, we love to see this in board games. There's basically nothing in here, and that's a sign that you have a very simple game and that it can be taught very easily, except the rule book is not very clear. I read through the rule book having not played the video game, so I've never experienced Orlog in any other way. I've only seen somebody play it on a live stream, and that was months and months and months ago. In fact, it was probably over a year ago at this point when the video game first came out. And even then, I only saw Orlog for all of a few minutes. If you only read this rule book and then sit down to play, you're probably going to be playing it wrong. I mean, it's not that you're doing anything wrong. It's just the rule book is very unclear about how the turn order truly works. And I would highly recommend go to YouTube and watch some videos of people playing Orlog within Assassin's Creed Valhalla, because that's going to give you an idea of how exactly the back and forth of the turn is supposed to go. There isn't a good resource right now for the board game version of this game. So go online and find another way to witness how this game is meant to be played. There just isn't a good resource. However, if you're a little bit more patient, I'm planning to do that kind of digging myself and doing a how to play video for this game so that anybody who buys this game who is very confused by the rulebook can have a YouTube video resource that they can go to. I'm sure there's others already as well, so go check them out. But at this time, I feel like this is a game that could really use a good, solid, clear how to play video. So I want to make it and do it just for my own sake, because I need to do that research anyway so that I can teach my friends. But I may as well share it with whoever else needs it. So please, if you are excited about that idea, like this channel, subscribe to this channel, like this video, and subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss that video when it goes live. That covers Orlog, the Assassin's Creed Valhalla dice game. If you have any other questions about the package that I received from Kickstarter, if there's anything else that you want to see more up close or anything you want to see coming up in the future, please let me know. I've backed a few games on Kickstarter lately, and I'm going to have a couple more videos coming up very soon showing some more fun games. So please keep an eye on the channel. Otherwise, thank you for watching, and I hope that this was a good, informative view of a really fun and exciting board game that just got mailed out to backers in the past couple of weeks. So there you go. There you have it. That is Orlog. Thank you for watching.